아니야, 아니야, 아니야. 아까 못 본 게 있지 않았나? 이야, 힘이 장사요. 어허이. 아, 여기 있었네, 아까.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
그 다음에 이제 오빠가 태어났다고?
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again.
이게 나고, 이게 아빠고, 이게 오빠고, 이게 엄마.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
평화가 오래 가지 않았다. 어머나.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
밀턴.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
아직 살아있는 아이네. 이야. 아직 저기 위에 방이 더 있구나. 지금 몇 명 남았지? 1명, 2명, 3명, 4명, 5명, 6명. 6명, 애매하네. 다 해버려야겠다. 자기만의 이제 공간이구나. 그림도 잘 그려. 이야. 마법의 붓.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
아, 밀턴도 밀턴도 형제구나. 맞나? 아, 사라졌다고. 와, 터치 봐라. 예술인데? 여기 이제 내려가면 되겠지?
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
몇 달 동안 찾아다녔구나. 그런데도 찾지 못하자 여기를 잠가버린 거네.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
아, 왜 올라가?
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
동조림 공장에 취직시킬 때까지. 루이스.
Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
이거야. 아, 계단이 끊겨있구나. 근데 집 진짜 신기하다. 이건 보트네?
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
아니 왜 나가? 아직 안 둘러봤잖아.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
게임을 못했다. 게임기 이름이? 원더랜드? 아, 원더랜드 터보. 루이스 빈치. 오, 로고 뭐야? 감각적인데?
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
홀 쉣.
He kept working at the cannery.
야 잠깐만요.
But he withdrew part of himself.
잠시만요. 천천히 주세요.
His mind began to wander.
뭐야?
I asked him to describe
이걸
it.
양손으로 그것을 설명으로 물었다.
He said he started small.
미궁을 찾기
Imagining a labyrinth.
그가 말했다. 뭐라고 얘기했는데
Feel his way about.
미궁을 헤맸다.
Then something moved. Bats
박쥐?
and toads.
두꺼비?
And things that have not names.
저기 잠시만요. 위로 올라가는 게 맞군요. 오이씨. 오, 계단이네 참치. 이름 없는 것들.
He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. daydreaming at the cannery.
공상하는 것을 걱정했다.
I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee.
5번 찍.
Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
루이스 토피아? 어이,
On the
잠시만요.
edge of a city he named Lewis.
댕댕아
Topi.
올라와. 댕댕아. 올라와야지. 어이구야 씨. 깜짝이야.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
잘 따라오세요.
Had songs for them to play.
좋아. 흥겨워하고 있어. 좋아. 따라오란 말이다.
He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming.
이것이 바로 루이스 밴드다.
Every day his imagination grew stronger.
딴.
He no longer
따단.
spoke at the cannery.
따단. 잠깐 비켜주실래요?
But his chopping was as reliable as ever.
그럼요. 잠시만요. 잘못 들어왔어요.
Then one day it struck him
에헷,
that all the cheering crowds, even
군중들.
the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished.
따라오셔야지.
He
못
held an
따라오구나.
election for mayor,
시장 선거에 나갔다고?
and he won.
마리오잖아.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New
Oh.
Louisville,
그냥 지나가면 바로 그냥 점령이 되는구만.
St. Louis.
오,
He started drifting away from our reality.
으짜.
Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on.
엄마가 얘기하고 있는데 그냥 상상의 나래로 빠진 거네, 얘는.
In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a
아니, 선택지라니. 당연히 여왕님이지.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
당연히 빛나는 무지개지. 무지개.
radiant rainbows.
오, 깜짝이야.
He followed the sound of her
큰 하프지, 뭐 여기서 갑자기.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
필요 없어요 이제. 왜 안 놔? 놓으세요.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace.
정신병 걸렸구만.
My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
비키도록 하지. 이렇게 하고 일 마치고 집에 가는 거야?
He began to forget the world we know.
엄마야.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
루이스, 정신 차려. 이놈아.
I still thought I could save him.
뭐야? 아직도 그를 구할 수 있다고 생각했다.
Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him.
그래. 기뻐하라 이 말이야. 어허, 몰리를 했구만. 그래. 어허, 좋아.
His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
이 맞아? 저기, 아닌 것 같은데. 나 안 볼래.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
오.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
음. 이야.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She
루이스.
waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
오.
But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
왜 설마.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now was to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
어릴 때구나. 루이스가 죽고 나서 이제 이사를 가려고 하는데
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
집을 떠난다고 저주가 사라진 게 아니다.
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
어허.
We'll
하긴
have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
What?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car.
아니,
I never saw Great Grandma Edie again.
안 돼, 할머니. 아,
The next morning, the van came to pick her
안
up.
돼.
She was already gone.
할머니. 아,
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by.
뭐야? 오.
My mom
야,
didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
안 돼.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't.
아, 이렇게
And then I was alone.
병으로 가셨구나.
The last Finch left alive.
그게 바로 에디스구나, 자신.
Until I found out about you.
아, 그럼 뱃속에 있는
I'm
아이?
still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is.
아, 맞네. 아기.
This journal was supposed to be for you.
자신의 아기를 위해서 지금 이렇게 쓴 거구나.
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
아,
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all.
오.
Good luck.
올, 올. 소름 돋았어, 미친. 와, 아이가 지금 태어나서 그걸 읽은 거구나. 홀. 이렇게 엔딩인가 보네. 근데 내가 몇몇 못 본 게 있지 않았나? 아니네. 아, 이렇게 다 본 거구나. 크레딧은 좀 기니까 나중에 편집하고 그러고 올려야겠네. The End. What Remains of Edith Finch였습니다. 여기까지 하도록 하겠습니다.